folks, and welcome to this week's show. My special guest is Paul.
Hello.
And this week we're going to be focusing on the fantastic year 1972. So 1972, the year probably peak glam rock. We've got prog rock really going into overdrive, to coin a phrase. We've really got heavy rock and hard rock really motoring at this point. And we've got some great pop and folk, and it's a real mixture of genres going on. Paul, what do you recall from 72?
Amazing year for me. Another year of discovery, because I was 16, really starting to get into music at that point. And as I said, with my selections for 1971 and 1972, this is a list of my personal favourites. So in a sense, it's not really reflecting what is essentially the best music in 1972, but almost, in fact, all of the albums I've chosen are albums that I loved in 1972. And I can't, there's none of them I can put to one side and say something else that I came across later on is better and should. So there's a lot of albums that I came across later, which could easily have slotted in here, but I'm sorry, I've got to go with the albums. It's like, as I said before, Desert Island Discs. These are the albums that I couldn't live without, if I had to take 10 albums out in 1972. So, but I mean, one thing, it was a great year for guitar music, for Guitar Heroes, which is reflected heavily in my choice.
Interesting.
And there's three live albums.
Oh, have you really? I've got none in this year. I was sorely tempted, but I didn't.
Could have been four as well. Could have been four.
My other choice was it's a big year for soul music, and there's a few big soul albums didn't make my list. Yeah. So I was just really tempted. I could have put 3 or 4 huge albums in, and I was really pushed. But right, I'll tell you what then, Paul, we'll start with you. What have you got in at number 10?
Number 10, I've got Rory Gallagher Live in Europe. An album I fondly remember buying and listening to ad infinitum with my pals that I played in my first band with. We just listened to this album. We're still worn out the vinyl copy of that album, listening to it in different houses. It's just a great album. I mean, you just have to one look at the cover and it tells you all you need to know about the music. It's included. There's a picture of Rory on the front, tartan shirt, battered Strat, and that tells you everything you need to know about it. It's just a fantastic live album. I'd seen Rory live maybe at 71 when I saw him. So this album came out on the back of that tour. So it kind of brings back great memories for me of seeing him in the Electric Garden in Glasgow. But it's just, just a fantastic album. It starts off a really blistering up-tempo start, Messing with the Kid and Laundromat, which is just two fantastic tracks.
It is a belter.
And then it goes into a lot more traditional stuff, a really slow blues like Could Have Had Religion. And you've got Ragtime in there as well, which, in the mix as well, which is just different. And then you've got, Going to My Hometown, which is just Rory playing mandolin. And it's just like he's got that audience in the palm of his hand. 5 minutes of him just playing the mandolin and stamping his foot, basically, And it's just tremendous. And then finishes off with Bullfrog Blues, which is like, we used to do it in the first band that I played in. It's just a great rocking blues song, But if I had one criticism of that, I would be Hand on Heart. I'm not a huge fan of slide guitar. I can take it in small doses, but there's maybe a little bit too much in this for me to say it's the best Rory album. But it's just an amazing guitar player and a great fun man. So yeah, absolutely couldn't leave that out of my top 10 for 72.
No, it is a great choice. It is a great choice. I love Live in Ireland as well. It's a fantastic album.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my number 10, and I'm going with the soul feel, and I am going with Superfly by Curtis Mayfield, the classic blaxploitation film. The soundtrack, is about drugs and poverty. And it is a fantastic album. The film's all right. If you get the chance to watch the film, watch it. It's worth watching, but it's just only all right. It's nowhere near as good as films at the time like Shaft and that, but it's all right. But the album itself is brilliant. Pusher Man, Freddie's Dead has got a fantastic groove on it. Superfly, obviously a great song. The album addresses really serious issues, but it's got really fantastic grooves and great grooves and vibes about it. It's one of those rare soundtracks as well, where the soundtrack actually outsold the film and did better than the film, which is really unusual. It's just great. Curtis Mayfield at his peak for me. It's a fabulous album. All my albums, 5-star albums as well, by the way, folks. Forgot to have that. I'm assuming we're going to go 5 stars all the way. So these are all classic masterpiece albums, and it's just great. So my number 10 is Superfly, Curtis Mayfield, the soundtrack. Go and get it. Brilliant. So are we going at number 9, Paul?
Number 9, it's an album I haven't listened to for a while, but I went back to listen to it a couple of weeks ago before we even talking about doing this show, and I thought, what a great album it is Argus by Wishbone Ash. Absolutely fantastic album. I'd forgotten what a great sort of really fresh sound they had. Just a tremendous all-round album. I think Sounds, sadly no longer with us. Sounds paper voted it album of the year in 1972, which is quite an accolade given the other albums that are around. I mean, it was kind of like a lot of people have kind of said this was a really influential album. I was just reading the other day, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden was saying, if anyone wants to understand their early sound, and particularly the harmony guitars, all we've got to do is listen to Wishbone Ash's Argus album, you know. And I know the likes of Lynyrd Skynyrd and Van Halen also sort of credited that as being an influential album. Just some. I mean, there's lots of different. It's quite a progressive, quite a proggy album.
It is proggy, and Maiden. Album. When you think about Maiden, they're really like a prog metal band, aren't they? You know, they do that crossover thing. You know. Yeah,
and I mean, some of the stuff in Argus is kind of starts off quite folky, and then you've got there's some bits where Martin Turner sounds like Chris Squires. You know, the way he plays bass. You know, and great guitar sound on it as well. Some of it sounds a bit like Peter Green in places. You know, it's a really solid album, and as I say, I hadn't listened to it for a long time, and I went back and I thought I can't leave that out of my top 10. You know, it's such a good album. So it's definite 5-star for me. For that.
Good choice, and different. And I have considered it. I do really like the album very, very much. My number 9. I listened to this the other day when the 50th anniversary came out, which is quite scary. And my number 9 is Harvest by Neil Young. It's his 4th solo album. It's got that rare thing on it, a hit single by Neil Young. I mean, Heart of Gold actually got to number 1 in America, which is incredible, actually. The album also got to number 1 in the States. And this is really possibly his most country-ish album, certainly one of them. He's got Nashville musicians on there, you know, they're called the Stray Gators. It was recorded in Nashville. It's a beautiful blend of sort of folk, little bit of country, bit of rock. It's beautiful, beautifully produced, may I add. The production is fantastic on it. There's some really great songs on it. I mean, The Needle and the Damage Done, The Lament for Danny Whitten, a member of Crazy Horse who died of heroin, is fantastic. Great song to play on the guitar as well. My particular big favourite is the controversial A Man Needs a Maid. Often seen as like a chauvinistic song, but I don't think it is. I think it's about the fact that this man is vulnerable and he needs someone to save him. And I love the line, "When will I see you again?" It's heartbreaking. It's really touching. And you can hear the fragility in his voice. It's really moving. It gets me every time. Lovely, lovely. And then we've got like the Crosby, Stills and Nash type song with "Are You Ready for the Country," which basically features Graham Nash and David Crosby. So you can tell. There are some great songs on it, like "Old Man," it paints an image, and "Words" is also fabulous. It's a really great album. I don't think it's quite up to Gold Rush, but it is a fantastic album. And again, it's a 5-star album. Really, really, really good album. If you get the chance to listen to it, folks, the new version's just come out. Go and give it a blast because it's brilliant. So that's my number 9 is Harvest by Neil Young. What have you got at number 8, Paul?
Number 8, another live album, Henderson West. Not an album I hear an awful lot of people talking about nowadays, but it was an album that I bought when it came out, and it still, to me, it still stands the test of time in terms of the live. So I mean, a lot of people are going to. Band of Gypsies is a great album, a very different sounding album, and it was quite a kind of soulful it kind of hinted at Hendrix going off in a new direction with a new lineup. But Hendrix in the West, it's not a single concert performance, because some of it was recorded at the Isle of Wight, and the majority of it was recorded in the West Coast of America. In fact, the first 2 tracks, "God Save the Queen" and "Sergeant Pepper's," were recorded Isle of Wight with Paul McCartney in the audience. So apparently he was totally gobsmacked that I don't know whether Hendrix knew that he was in the audience, but that was quite something that he should be there to hear him playing that. But for me, the two things that make the album stand out for me are an absolutely incendiary version of Johnny Be Good. If you haven't heard Johnny Be Good on the album, you have to go and listen to it because it is absolutely out of this world. The guitar playing, and then even better than that is the best version of Red House I've ever heard. It's 13 minutes, and for me, if I had to choose the best guitar solo of all time, I think it would have to be the solo in that version of Red House. It's that good. It just builds and builds. It's absolutely mind-blowing, this guitar solo. So for that one song alone, this would have to be in my top 10. So if you haven't heard it and you think it's an album of curios and outtakes and all the rest of it, don't be put off. It's a fantastic album. Check out Red House if you don't check out anything else off that album. That's my choice.
Well, I've never heard it, so I'm going to go and check it out. My old band there, we used to do Red House, and the bass player Richard used to sing it. Right. That was my chance to go and have a pint. Yeah. Right, well, my number 8 is, I was really torn here. I was going to go ZZ Top, but I thought, no, I'll tell you what, I'm going British Boogie. And the ultimate British Boogie band is Status Quo. So I've gone with Pile Driver, which is brilliant. It's a really great album. They went from the Pie label to Vertigo. Oh, I love all the Vertigo records with their swells in the middle. It's brilliant. It's just a great album. British Blues Boogie, just at its very, very best. It's a super album. Don't Waste Me Time is great. Straight in, heads down, rocker, fantastic. Then we got Oh Baby, which is almost like the precursor to Dr. Feelgood. It's got that little build up and then the down, and it just bounces along. It's brilliant. And then you have a total contrast. You've got like this pastoral feel of a Year is Beautiful, and it's great. The vocals are superb. Francis is fantastic on it. It almost sounds like Yes in parts, which is odd. Other tracks on the album got Unspoken Words. It's like Fleetwood Mac, like Peter Green era. Again, lovely guitar playing, really tasty playing by Francis. The highlight of the album for me, Big Fat Mama, is a true epic. It just reeks of rock. It really does. Rick's singing is great. I saw Quo with the classic lineup when they reformed the Frantic Four, and I saw them 2 years off the trot in Glasgow, and then I was at the last gig in Dublin. But the 2 Glasgow gigs were amazing. The crowd, probably along with the Specials, are the loudest crowd I've ever heard in my life. The crowd was unbelievable. And it was just brilliant. Honestly, they were. The Big Fat Mama was just amazing. It really was amazing. And then Rick singing Say You Need Me, and the crowd just screaming it back on it at him, an absolute highlight. Other great songs on it, Paper Plane, just great pop boogie song. And then, of course, it finishes up with Roadhouse Blues, which is probably as good as the Doors version with Alan Lancaster singing and Bob Young on harp. This is the quote. They've gone from earlier on psychedelic band to proper full-on head-down boogie. And the sleeves got it with the 3 guys with the heads down and the hair hanging down there and the guitars and the dirty denim look. Great, undervalued album, in my opinion. It's just a fantastic album. So my number 8 is Pile Driver by Status Quo. So there we have it. What have you got in at number 7, Paul?
Number 7, another live album. The clue is in the T-shirt, which is my Cream T-shirt. Live Cream Volume 2, which came out in 1972, although it was recorded in 69, obviously, because Cream had already been split up for a couple of years by then. One of my big regrets at that time, I loved Cream from the moment I heard the first Live Cream album. I absolutely loved them, and Jack Bruce. It was Jack Bruce that inspired me to take up playing bass, and he's been my number one hero my entire life. But obviously, thought I've missed the chance to see Cream. This album came out. It wasn't as Live Cream Volume 1 was a lot more. It was a lot. There were only 5 tracks in that, and they were all longer tracks and really sort of jam tracks where they were going off at tangents and a lot of quick jazzy stuff on there at times. But Live Cream Volume 2 was a bit more contained in terms of the songs that are on it, but you've got White Room, Politician, you know, Sunshine Your Love, Tales of Brave Ulysses, great songs. Jack Bruce, a magnificent voice. I mean, I still maintain he's one of the most underrated singers, not to mention being a brilliant bass player. And then they do kind of go off in one and stepping out, which is really good, and features Clapton to a greater extent. I have to say I'm a bit conflicted listening to Cream nowadays because of the whole Clapton thing, the racist stuff that came to light, and also the anti-vax thing. I find it hard to listen to Cream now, but I still power through and listen to it because they made such great music, you know. Yeah. And having said that, I thought I'd never get a chance to see Cream. This T-shirt is a souvenir of seeing them in 2005 at the Royal Albert Hall, which is one of the greatest, alongside getting married and having 2 kids, one of the greatest experiences of my life. You know, seeing Cream. The only thing that would have probably topped that would have been seeing Hendrix, but again, I was too young to see Hendrix. It was never going to happen. But I actually got to see Cream, and that was just a special occasion, you know. But yeah, they were a great band, you know. I still listen to their stuff. Still love playing stuff, you know. For a bass player, White Room, absolute dream to play that kind of stuff, you know. So yeah, great album.
Well, we're all still envious of the fact that you saw the Who and Led Zeppelin in their pomp. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my number 7 is Yes, Close to the Edge. Fabulous album, and probably an album that I've got into in the last year, rather oddly. I wasn't a big Yes fan, but I've really got into 3 or 4 of the albums in the last year, and this is a great album. It's like an album that's sort of drenched in spirituality. John Anderson, he's got an odd voice, hasn't he? You either love him or hate him, and he's a strange voice. I like it. His lyrics, I have no idea what he sings half the time, I'll be brutally honest. I'm not sure he does. I mean, it says here he was influenced by Hermann Hesse's novel Siddhartha, in which an Indian man alive during Buddha's time experiences an inner awakening through nature, you know. So the lyrics are all about discovering yourself on a journey into higher planes. But I do love it. It's got some really beautiful movements in it. And the first track in particular, you know, I love it when it goes, I get up, I get down. It's beautiful. And it's that sort of sense of day-to-day life, you know, and it's traveling through life. It's really a fabulous piece, really, really is. The musicianship is technically exceptional. I mean, this is they only did 2 albums as the big classic lineup of House, Ware, Anderson, Bruford, and Wakeman, which I was really quite surprised at when I found that out. But it is a really great album. Other things there's only 3 tracks on it, you know, but the whole 3 of them are superb, you know. And You and I, and then also Siberian Katra. I think I might have pronounced that wrongly. If I have, I do apologise. Paul Stump, in his 1997 History of Prog Rock, wrote, he described the song as a modal monster, chilled by Rick Wakeman's terrifying mellotron strings, charging on in an irregular tempo to a series of climactic barbarian chants interspersed with lightning 12-string soloing from Steve Howe. And it's got all of that. It's got all these breaks and rhythmic tempo changes and everything, and counter melodies that all work superbly. It's just a top-notch album, and an album that's grown more and more on us the more I listen to it. So yeah, it's a fantastic album. Go and give it a blast, folks. It's different. It really is. It's really unusual, but a super album. So Yes, Close to the Edge is my number 7. So where are we going at number 6, Paul?
Number 6, and I make no apologies for including this, is Why Don't You by West, Bruce and Lang. Again, Jack Bruce. His next well, it was his next foray after Cream, actually, because he did at least 1 or 2 or 3 solo albums, I think, and then he was back into the power trio with Leslie West and Corky Lang, obviously X Mountain. It's an album, again, that holds a special place in my heart because I actually to tell the story properly, my best friend at the time's uncle was Jack Bruce's personal roadie. So we went along to see West Bruce and Lang, and we actually got to meet them after the gig. I remember them. It was a Greens Playhouse, and they came out. There's a little door under the stage at Greens Playhouse, and the 3 of them came out, and we got their autographs. And I also got, and I brought it to show you. This is one of Jack Bruce's guitar straps.
Oh wow!
Which I don't know if you can read that, but it's actually from Manny's in New York.
It does say Manny's, yes, yeah, I can see that,
New
yes.
York. So this was given to me. I've got pictures of Jack on stage playing using this strap. So this is one of my prized possessions. But again, back to the album. I mean, West Bush Lang got very mixed reviews, and a lot of people were a bit sniffy about them because they said they weren't like Cream and all this of it. But they actually did record some fantastic music. You know, I mean, some great. You know, the first track, Why Don't You, Out into the Fields, which was a fantastic. Peter Brown wrote the lyrics, I think, but it's a fantastic song which Jack continued to play for a lot of years after that live. You know, Third Degree, a great slow blues. You know. Some great guitar playing from Leslie West, and then you've got probably the last track. No, sorry, second last track. Love Is Worth the Blues, which is it was a rip off of a bit of a rip off of a Stone song. It was a bit like Play with Fire. It was the same riff. In fact, when West Bush Lang played it live, they used to go into singing Play with Fire because it's the same thing. But at the end of that, the instrumental bit at the end of that was just Jack and Leslie West going off in one. It's just incredible. It really is. But what I didn't realise at the time was how badly the three of them were into drugs. I found a quote the other day from Jack. He said, after making Harmony Row, I made what remained the most controversial career move, West Bush and Lang. A band that had two priorities. The second was music and the first was heroin. And then I found another quote from Corky Lang, and he said, it was a very dark time. New York meant coke. England meant heroin because that's where the best quality was. And he says, he talks about, he says, I had this drum kit that was going back to the States. And he says, this heroin connection of Jack said that her business connections would pay me $250,000 if they could ship heroin back in my drums. I had no idea at the time they were that.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder how, I mean, I think they produced 2 studio albums and they were both patchy. You could have got one fantastic album out of the 2, but the good stuff on the 2 albums was absolutely incredible. So yeah, I love that album. I still play it all the time today. It's worth checking out if you're into that kind of blues, it's power trio blues.
Well, I do like Leslie West. He's a really good player. Big lad, wasn't he?
Great tone. Actually, incidentally, sadly, it was 2 years ago today he died.
All right, okay.
Today. It came up one of my things 2 years ago today that died at the age of 75.
Good player. Good player.
Oh, great tone. King of tone. Yeah, great tone.
Right, well, my number 6, I'm back into soul, and there's no better soul singer than the Queen of Soul. Aretha Franklin, Young, Gifted and Black, is an absolutely unbelievable album, incredible album. It's Aretha at the peak of her powers. There's some marvelous originals and incredible covers on this album. Again, the production is just sensational. Maybe Wexler. The album is spacious. There's a beautiful feel on here where, the Queen of Soul is able to stretch out vocally. And, I personally believe at her peak, I don't think there is a better singer than Aretha Franklin. I may have more people that I prefer more, but there's not a better singer than Aretha. I just think she is the best. Just incredible. The whole album is just superb. Amazing songs like Oh Me, Oh My, I'm a Fool for Your Baby, great. Daydreaming is lovely. And again, it's actually got that sort of, almost daydreaming feel to it. It's really sort of gently moves. Then we've got this big groove with Rocksteady, which was a big hit in America. It's got a fantastic groove. It's beautiful feel. The drums and the bass are brilliant on it.
Love that, yeah.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It should be a much bigger, more well-known hit over here. It's a super song. Her version of Nina Simone's Young, Gifted and Black is as good as Nina's. That is the ultimate accolade as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a huge Nina Simone fan. And they were friends as well, and obviously both at the forefront of the civil rights movement. And it's as good as Nina Simone's version. You can't say more than that. The covers are great on it. I mean, the cover of The Long and Winding Road is superb. However, her version of Border Song by Elton John is the definitive version. Even Elton John says it. In his version, obviously, he wrote it, is brilliant. The playing by the musicians is sublime at times. I mean, you've got Donny Hathaway on keys, Aretha on piano, and obviously great player. Dr. John's on it. You've got Al Jackson and Bernard Purdie on drums. I mean, two incredible drummers. You've got the sweet inspirations on backing vocals as well as our sisters singing, you know. Our two sisters, Carolyn and Irma, doing backing vocals. Just the whole album's brilliant. But my favourite song on it is First Snow in Kokomo. It's one of my favourite ever songs. It's just very chill, very relaxed, and it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful song and a beautiful album. So it's in the top corner there. You can see it, folks. Go and listen to it. Young, Gifted and Black, Aretha Franklin. Magnificent. Okay, absolutely magnificent. So what have we got in number 5, Paul?
Well, number 5 is my nod towards soul music in a sense, which is Smoking by Humble Pie. I love Humble Pie. I think they were, I don't know, I've said before, I think they're very underrated, particularly in this country. Interestingly, this album went to number 6 in the Billboard charts, and it was released on the back of a massively successful tour of the States. I don't think it did so much in the UK. It got to 20 in the UK chart apparently, but it's just a fantastic album. It was the first one to feature Clem Clemson on guitar. A really soulful album. You get the Blackberries on harmony vocals. I actually saw Humble Pie on this tour in Glasgow. Great gig, you know. But there's some fantastic songs. I mean, really funky, soulful stuff like Hot and Nasty.
Black Coffee on it.
Black Coffee is on that one as well, yeah.
Great.
No, I beg your pardon, Black Coffee is not on album. No,
all right.
It must have been on the next album. But 30 Days in the Hole, just fantastic, you know. And there's a Roadrunner jam as well, which features Stephen Stills, bizarrely enough, which I didn't realise until I was reading about it the other day. Come On Everybody, a great version of that old standard. And you know, maybe the jury was out on Clemson replacing Frampton, who was obviously a big name in his own. Well, he's a big star, kind of shared star billing with Frampton, with Marriott really. But Clemson's guitar playing this album is fantastic. I mean, if there's any doubt about that, listen, there's a lot of slow blues thing called I Wonder, which is the second last track, and the guitar playing in that is just fantastic. Very different sound, very different feel to Marriott, to Frampton, but just a really good. And I've always loved Clemson's guitar playing because he went on to play with Colosseum, some great stuff with Colosseum, and also played with Jack Bruce as well, coincidentally. But it's just a really good album. One of my favourite albums, without doubt, from 1972.
Right, okay. Well, my number 5 is Transformer by Lou Reed. It's just a great album. I play it loads. David Bowie was the producer along with Mick Ronson. And Bowie originally had wanted it to be Lou Reed and the Spiders from Mars, but his manager Tony DeFries refused. I don't know why he refused. It would be great with the rest of the Spiders, but there you have it. But we got great session guys in like Herbie Flowers, who actually, ironically, pardon the pun, transforms the album. It's as glam as Lou Reed gets on it, really. It's a glam album describing New York. It addresses drugs, transgender issues, and sexual issues all the way through the whole album. It's just brilliant. It would be fair to say that Mick Ronson doesn't get as much credit as he deserves on this album. Yes, he's co-producer, but he really sort of takes charge of the whole thing. His guitar playing on it is marvelous, but his piano playing is sensational. What a fantastic piano player he was. He was classically trained, great player, but also an incredible arranger as well. He does the strings on Perfect Day and all the rest of it. They're absolutely amazing. The album's like strewn with classics. Kicks off with Vicious, which has got Ronson's guitar and Lou Reed's humorous lyrics. You know, Vicious, you hit me like a flower, you know, which makes me laugh. Then he redoes Andy's Chest, which he wrote for the Velvet Underground after Andy Warhol was shot. And again, they've got humorous lyrics. Perfect Day is, I think, one of the greatest songs ever written. And when you hear the acoustic version, it's terrible with Lou Reed, but Ronson just transforms it into this masterpiece. You know, it's been seen as a song, you know, it can be seen as a song about spending a perfect day with somebody. And that's the way I look at it. We've all been with people you know, whether it's past, present, where you've had just a day where it's been sensational. And for me, it's this song that sort of captures that. Sometimes I'll think about it and go, oh yeah, I remember that day, or I remember this, you know, and it's just brilliant. Yeah, just a masterpiece. We then have other songs on it, like Walk on the Wild Side, which oddly was a hit in the UK, about Holly, who's trans. We've got the famous line, he was a she, and then we've got the lines like, you know, we've got the phrase, gives good head in it. And somehow it beat the British censors. I don't understand that. You know, I really don't. There are some songs that beat the British censors and they don't allow it. And then we're banning punk records left, right, and centre. You know, and this is one that always springs to mind. Grease Lightning's another one that beat the censors. If you go and check the lyrics out, they're quite racy. Lou Reed, as we know, was bisexual, was involved in a number of various relationships. His parents are mad. They sent him for electroshock treatment because they thought he was gay. I mean, that's absolutely mental. You know, it's just insane when you think about it. I don't know. But the album is great. There's some other real highlights on it. Satellite is fantastic. And go and listen to it. Go and listen to it alone for Bowie's backing vocals at the end. And it apparently just does everything in one take. And the vocals are just unbelievable. As a singer myself, you think, how the hell does he hit them notes? And it's just so perfect, pitch perfect. Does it in one take, and that's it. And they're incredible. Go and listen to it. Fabulous album. You can see it just beside me on the back there. Great album. So Lou Reed, my number 5. What have you got at number 4?
Number 4, any of my top 4 could have been interchangeable, to be honest. And number 4, I've got Black Sabbath Volume 4, which to me, if I was pushed, might be my favourite Black Sabbath album. I just love listening to this album. It was the first album that Tony Iommi produced. He took over the controls, and it kind of comes across that way when you listen to it. I think there's a lot of guitar on it. It's quite a diverse album for Black Sabbath. It's almost like Led Zeppelin 3 in a sense that there's an acoustic song on it, Laguna Sunrise, and then there's Changes, which was later covered by I'm trying to think it was now
Ozzy and his daughter.
No, but there was Charles Bradley, the soul singer, the James Brown wannabe.
All right.
Not only covered it, but it was the title track of his album, and he did a really good version of it. But I'm thinking, how did he even come around to thinking about recording a Black Sabbath song? Anyway, getting back to the album itself, it does contain probably my favourite Black Sabbath song of all time, Supernaut, which I was reading the other day, was also listed as a favourite song of Frank Zappa and John Bonham, bizarrely enough. And if you haven't heard Supernaut, go and put it on. Put it on at volume 11, and the walls of your house will start to shake. When the main riff starts, and Geezer Butler and Bill Ward come in, it's just like unbelievable. And that great rhythm section, when they come in, it's just incredible. And then you get back, you know, like Snowblind, which is an all-time Black Sabbath classic, obviously, again, a kind of reference to drugs. And then Cornucopia, which is back to the kind of detuned, sludgy sound that they had on Masters of Reality, you know, just great, absolute classic Black Sabbath stuff, you know. So, yeah, it's one of my all-time favourite Black Sabbath albums.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but it was very, very close. And it only didn't make my list because I didn't want to throw in another Black Sabbath album.
I don't care. It's my choice.
So, yeah, it's a great album. Like you, any of my top 4 could be number 1. Such was the choice. My number 4 is Roxy Music's debut album. It came out the same day as Ziggy Stardust, the 16th of June, 1972. It's got the famous picture of Carrie Ann Muller on the front, who's famously married to Chris Jagger. Designed, the album sleeve was designed by Anthony Price, who Ferry's used for his whole of his career. It still sounds like the future as an album. It doesn't have Virginia playing on it, rather oddly, although I feel it should have. It consisted of half the band from Newcastle. So you got Ferry from Washington, Paul Thompson from Jarrah, the outskirts for those people who don't know Newcastle. And then you've got Graham Simpson, who was living in Newcastle, but I believe he's from Manchester originally. And then we've got the rest of the lads, Mackay, Eno, and Phil Manzanera, who sort of originally roadied for them and took over on guitar after Davey List left. The album's weird. It's old school rock and roll. It's kitsch. And as I've said on a previous show, on the Roxy Music one, if you go and check it out, please, and remember, subscribe. I keep meaning to mention this. Subscribe to the show. On the Roxy Music one, I mentioned the fact that John Peel said he only ever had 2 original bands on the whole of his show. One of them was the Smiths, and the other one was Roxy Music, because he said he just didn't know where they came from. It's a great album. It's the whole manifesto of the album, pardon the pun there for Roxy fans, starts with the opening song with Remake, Remodel. And they do literally remake and remodel rock and roll. And it's just a great song, flying in. The band are on full force, all these different things at the end. What a great opener. I'll not go too much into it. Go and watch the album show on Roxy. Other great songs on it. We've then got Lady Tron, which again still sounds science fiction based. All this weird mental sort of ending on the guitar, and all Eno doing his Eno sort of various machinations on that key thing that he had. We've then got If There Is Something, which is epic. On the John Peel show, there's an 11-minute version. Listen to that. 2HB's beautiful. It changes the whole tempo of the album. 2HB to Humphrey Bogart with a classic chorus of Here's Looking at You, Kid. We then got the Battle of Britain. Again, all the Enotronics going on. And then we've got some lovely songs, Chance Meeting Sea Breezes, both brilliant. And then right at the very end, we got the Bitters End, and the chorus has the phrase bizarre, which I think is really funny. There's a lot of humor to the album, as well as just being glamorous and just transformative in terms of music, because it is so out there. It's so out there. It's quite proggy. I'll be honest, they're quite glam, they're quite proggy, they're old school rock and roll. What are they? Nobody knows. They're really hard to pigeonhole Roxy Music. Just a true, all I know is they're a great, great band. So my number 4 is Roxy Music's magnificent debut. Where have we got at number 3, Paul?
An album we've talked about before, one I absolutely couldn't leave out, Free at Last, which we talked about at more length on when we did the review of the Free albums. It's not the best album, but it's still a tremendous. Anything by Free, they could do no wrong, really, as far as I was concerned. Just one of my all-time favourite bands. This was the album. This was the kind of the reunion album after they had their first split up, and after Highway bombed. Bizarrely, disappointingly, Highway did nothing in the charts, and the band decided to go their separate ways. But then they realised that they were much better together than they were separately, so they came back. And I thought this was quite a confident return to the studio for them. It's not a perfect album, but there's some fantastic songs in it. And the reason that I've chosen a lot is that these albums is that the bands that I loved at the time and I got to see at the time. And I saw Free touring this album, 1970, May 72, I think. It was actually the last gig in the UK by the main lineup, the classic lineup, because not long after that they went to the States, and Andy Fraser got fed up because of drug problems and ended up leaving. So it was actually the last gig in Glasgow that they performed in the UK as the original lineup. But it's got some great tracks in it. And Catch a Train, such a great opener. Soulja Boy, I've always loved Soulja Boy, and I remember, for some reason, I remember seeing him playing that live. It stuck out for me. Traveling Man, great song. Roger sounded fantastic. Interesting, somebody on Twitter this morning was talking about Free, and they'd said, Rogers and Kossoff, what a pair of geniuses they were. And I had to butt in and tweet and say, wait a minute. I said, let's not forget Andy Fraser and Simon Kirk. They were equal part responsible for Free sound. And in fact, Simon Kirk said that Andy Fraser was the real creative genius in the band, which I think a lot of people haven't really twigged, but he was a tremendous, he was like the kind of he was the kind of like the John Paul Jones of Free, and the kind of band leader, I think, in the sense of bringing the whole thing together. But it's just a great album. There's some fantastic tracks. You know, and the last track, Goodbye, you know, it's just a lovely song. Again, Rogers sounded fantastic. Kossoff sounded fantastic. Just, you know, just a great album.
Well, folks, my number 3, and you can see I've changed the background because I want to show you the signed album. My number 3 is this. Okay. So as you can see there, it's Foxtrot. It's signed by all the members of the band on there as well. I don't know if you can see that properly, but they're all on there. And just a great, great album by Genesis. It's the first Genesis album I ever got into, and I just absolutely love it. From the opening bars of the Mellotron, like Watches of the Skies, it's just sensational. I love everything about this album. You know, it's Watch of the Skies is taken from a line from a Keats poem on first looking at the Chapman's Homer. The song's got like an ethereal feel to it, but also a mix of science fiction. It's got this sort of Dr. Manhattan feel, like from the Watchmen series. It's got that sort of really bizarre feel to it. So, what a great opener! And the guitar with the bass comes in really lovely. The drums are fantastic on it. Just one of the best opening tracks I can possibly think of. When I first heard that, I was thinking, oh, all right, because I got into Genesis relatively late. I was about 18, which is quite late to get into that sort of band. But I thought, go on, get into them, because I really like Peter Gabriel. I thought, go on and give it a go, and then I really got into it. I love Timetable. It's just, I love the chorus on it. I know it's about kings and queens and that, but I just love the chorus. Then we've got a really unusual song, Get 'Em Up by Friday, which is like part social commentary, part sci-fi, about genetic engineering and the harshness of the appalling sort of conditions that landlords put people in. We have this character called the Winkler, which is a very British word to have, to winkle somebody out or winkle something out, which is quite clever. I love all that. And it's really harsh, and Gabriel's really sort of digging in terms of the state of society. Very, very clever lyrics. He got lambasted off the rest of the band at the time for the amount of lyrics he put in, but later on, I think they come around to appreciate that it is a truly great song. There's obviously the rest of the album is a very short album in terms of tracks. You got Can Utility in the Coastlines is great, and then you got Horizons by Hackett, which is a classical instrumental, which is marvelous. We then have the epic, which is after Horizons is the other whole of side tour with Horizons of Supper's Ready, which is 23 minutes long, and it's a masterpiece. You know, it references Christ, the Greek myth about Narcissus, and it even has Winston Churchill in it. You know, it's got the great line. There's Winston Churchill dressed in drag. He used to be a British flag, plastic bag. What a drag! What a great set of lines those are. Just superb. It's dark, it's moving, it's funny, all within 23 minutes, as well as having really crazy, insane sort of time beats. I mean, it goes to 9/8 at one point. Who plays 9/8? So it's just fantastic. I think the album's about 53 minutes long. And I say it's just one of those albums. As you can see by the signed album, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So my number 3 is Foxtrot by Genesis. So where are you going at number 2, Paul?
Number 2, I've got Machine Head by Deep Purple. But I could easily been one. I was agonised. It could one of 2 Deep. I didn't want to have 2 Deep Purple albums in my top 10. It could have been made in Japan.
Yeah.
But I just love it. I love Machine Head. It's just such a polished album. It's probably the high point of Deep Purple's career, as far as I'm concerned. You know, following on the back of 2 really good albums, Deep Purple and Rock and Fireball. This was probably the one that rounded out the whole Deep Purple sound. You know, and it's just got so many great tracks on it. Obviously recorded in Montreux, and in spite of the difficulties I had in recording the album between the casino burning down and all the stuff that is alluded to in the classic "Smoke in the Water," which it's got to be probably the most overplayed Deep Purple song, and it's probably the riff that nobody ever wants to hear again. Really, I mean, it's a fantastic riff, but
people rarely play it right either. They very rarely play it. They always play the full chord. It's not, he only picks bits. Well, anyway.
Yeah, I know. I think again it became a bit of an albatross around the neck, a bit like Stairway to Heaven for Led Zeppelin and All Right Now for Free. I don't. It's not the best track in the album for me. I mean, it goes straight in with Highway Star, which is just like the band in full, in full pelt, and you know straight away what you're going to get from the opening chords of that song, and it just. I mean, I don't think there's a bad song on it. It was the one single and Never Before. It's probably, to me, is probably the weakest track on the album, actually. The one, and then you've got Lazy, which to me is one of the best. As a vehicle for Blackmore's guitar, which Blackmore was my guitar hero back in the day, before he kind of went a little bit weird. But yeah, absolutely fantastic guitar playing. I mean, the only omission from it, which would have made it a better album for me, and if you get the later deluxe version, it includes When a Blind Man Cries, which was originally, it was only a B-side of the single Never Before, back in the day. And part of the reason for that was that Blackmore hated it, and he never played it live. But if the guitar playing on it is absolutely sublime. It's this beautifully subdued, bluesy solo, very different from anything else Blackmore did. And I mean, if I'd played that, if I'd come up with that in guitar, I'd have been pretty damn proud of it, But he didn't want anything to do with it, and it was only ever played live by Deep Purple after Blackmore left.
That's probably my favourite song on that album,
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic, and as I say, the guitar playing on it is just tremendous. But yeah, it's just a great, it's just a great album. You've got John Lord, the sort of some quite classical overtones and some of the stuff he did, the intro to Lazy and stuff like that. But yeah, just a great hard rocking album, which is consistently good throughout,
Excellent. Great choice. Yeah, great choice. Live in Tokyo was really close for me, actually. I have to say, it's a superb album. Yeah. My number 2 is the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street. It's one of the greatest double albums ever made. There were tax exiles, because I think they were paying something like 91 or 93p in the pound, the tax man. Hence the title. So they went to live in the south of France, and they recorded in this beautiful place, but downstairs in this big room. And this is often described as Keith's album. Both Richards and his partner, Anita Pallenberg, were both on heroin at the time. Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts have described hating recording there and described it as organised chaos. This is definitely the dirtiest and bluesiest album that they'd make. And Keith Richards has said, it was us against the world, so fuck you, really, is the phrase that he used. Tom Waits describes it as, he says, this record is a watering hole and ranks it as one of the greatest albums ever made. I think it's hard to disagree. That's my opinion. I love it. It's a real mix of albums. You've got rockers like Rocks Off, Rip This Joint, All Down the Line, to softer country songs like Sweet Virginia. And you got like beautiful blues boogie of Tumbling Dice, one of the greatest guitar riffs, I have to add. And then you got like soulful songs like Loving Cup and Sweet Black Angel. As I say, I love All Down the Line. Sorry, I was blues there. The sort of bluesy sort of riff I meant. The old Robert Johnson songs is great. Some fantastic musicianship on it again. The whole band, they're quite interchangeable as well. You had Nicky Hopkins sometimes on piano. You got Ian Stewart on piano. You got Jimmy Miller sometimes on drums, sometimes filling in. I know he's on Happy and that a few times when Charlie Watts isn't there. Bill Wyman's supposed to, on record, it says he's only on 8 tracks, but he himself says he's on more. I'm more inclined to believe Bill Wyman, to be honest. He's one of the few who wasn't off his head at the time, Jagger's voice is often very low in the mix, but it sort of adds to that whole feel of the album. I mean, the album sleeve's insane. I mean, it's a bizarre cover. It is an album. I know it's written in the south of France and recorded there, but to me, it actually feels like something that was recorded sort of in Louisiana. It's got that real sort of that feel to it. It's muggy and dirty, and it's got this sort of grimy feel to it. Yet it's just brilliant. So yeah, Exile on Main Street is just magnificent. So what are we going to number one then, Paul?
You see, I'm pleased you included Exile on Main Street, because I had it in my top 10 right up to the last minute, but
Yeah.
I had to be true to the albums that I loved when I was 16. So my apologies for that. But number one, I've got Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie album. I wasn't really much into David Bowie when I was 16, I have to be honest. This is probably the first album where I really sat up and took any notice of him. The previous albums had really gone right over my head. But over the years, it's definitely grown on me. It's just there's not a bad song on the album. You know, it's just incredible from start to finish. It's only 39 minutes long. Really quite a short album. Yeah, I went to see the Moon Age Daydream film recently. I don't know if you've seen it yet, the Brett Morgan film. Quite spectacular. Not a bit flawed in some of it, a bit patchy in parts of it, but visually spectacular. And the title track I hadn't heard for a long time, and I just thought, wow, what an incredible track that is, which kind of made me go back and listen to the whole album again, because I'd only had tracks here and there recently, but I mean, and particularly what stood out in that was Mick Ronson's guitar playing at the end. It's just incredible, you know. But I mean, it is a fantastic album from start to finish. And there was one, it was a lyric that stood out. It was in 5 years. I'm usually more tuned into music than lyrics, I have to be honest. But it was in 5 years, my brain hurt like a warehouse. I had no room to spare. I had to cram so many things to store everything in there. I thought, wow, what an amazing line that is, you know. It just jumped out at me. But I know it's one of your favourite bands, so I'm not going to go on too much about them. But yeah, it's a great. I couldn't look beyond that as number one. I did think about leaving it out because I knew you'd include it, but I thought I can't do that because it's such a good album.
Yeah, it is a great album. So my number one, no surprise, folks. And again, it's that, and you can see there I've got it signed. In 2004, Andy from Glam Towers got it signed. So thank you very much, Andy. That's on one of my walls. Yeah, it's just a sublime album. It really is. It's a 5-star album all day long for me. It's along with Hunky Dory. I can't remember now which one was the first one I got into. I suspect it was Ziggy. And I think it was also the John Peel sessions that we had. We used to have all those bootleg tapes. And I used to play the sessions over and over again, and all Ziggy stuff. So it was the Ziggy sessions as much as the album that I used to listen to. And it's just a great album. Yeah, ironically, and I'm going to say this now quite openly, it'll shock some people, it's not in my top 5 David Bowie albums, but it is brilliant. Most of I'm not going to talk massively in depth either, because I'm doing a number of shows now on classic albums, and this is going to be one of them that will be featured. So I'll keep this short. And you can watch the classic album review on there. But some points that I want to mention about it. Most of the album was recorded in December 71. Same time as Hunky Dory, basically. You know, virtually all the tracks were either written or recorded by the end of 71. Initially had Round and Round, the old Chuck Berry song, was going to be on it. Nicholas Pegg, the great Nicholas Pegg, lovely man, stated that the album, his latest December 71, was actually going to be called Round and Round. But he got told there was missing a single, so he went off and wrote Starman, like you do. And in Feb 72, according to Kevin Kahn, if you want to know anything about Bowie, Kevin Kahn knows it. And he stated that the recording was finished in 72 with some of the more glam-based songs. I think Suffragette City was one of them, and Starman, recorded in Feb 72. People see it as concept album. I'm not sure I do. It's such a loose concept, you know, about an alien come to Earth, becomes a rock and roll star before impending doom. I'm not really sure if I see it as a concept album. Yes, there's some very loose theme in there, but it's not really a concept album. It has references to famous people in it. You know, you got references to Iggy, Mark Bolan, Jimi Hendrix, Vince Taylor, and a few others, you know, but, you know, not sure. I'm not sure if it's a concept. It's probably Bowie, along with Aladdin series, most glam-based, the two big glam albums. It starts off with the foreboding 5 years, about impending doom. As you mentioned before, later on we got Moon Age Daydream with Ronno's guitar, which is just unbelievable. And Ken Scott's mix, when he sort of mixes Ronson up a little bit at the end, it's just fantastic. We got Starman. The one track that I'm a little unsure of is It Ain't Easy, which I really love, but it was recorded for the Hunky Dory sessions and should probably not have been on the album, in my opinion. But you can't listen to the album now without hearing it.
Yeah, sounds like a Beatles song to me.
Yeah, it's a guy called Ron Davies I've never heard of. I would have put in other songs that he recorded for this, such as like The Shadow Man, which is a beautiful ballad, or Sweet Head or Velvet Goldmine. They were recorded for this and didn't make the album. I don't know how, because they're all incredible. Lovely songs later. Lady Stardust, got references to Mark Bolan in there. And then you got the glam stuff. Star, brilliant. Hang On To Yourself, just rock and roll at its best. Ziggy, of course. Then you got Suffragette City with a Wham Bam Thank You Man, which is, when I saw him in Glasgow in 2003 was the last time I saw him. At the end, the crowd all chanting it back. It's just, it makes your hair stand on the back of your neck. It's amazing. And then finally at the end, Rock and Roll Suicide. And Ken Scott says that Bowie was like crying at the end while screaming out, give me your hands. And virtually the whole album vocally was done in one take, virtually every song, which is just amazing when you think about it. A top draw album, a top album, and to coin a phrase, to be played at maximum volume. Which is the first time I've ever seen it on an album, to be played at maximum volume, which is crazy but brilliant. It's a groundbreaker of an album, and I know why people pick it as their favorite Bowie album, and I totally get it. It is just sensational. 72, a great year. Folks, when we do the next one, go and check 73, because it's even harder. There are about 25 5-star albums. So there we have it. That's for the next time. So folks, please subscribe to the channel. We're getting about 20% of people watch the show, and the rest of you who subscribe, the rest of you aren't. Please do. So until the next time, thank you very much. Take care, look after yourselves, and all the best, folks. So see you later on. Take care. Bye-bye.
Right.